Hello YouTube, and welcome back to Dark and Darker. Now, the last real video I made on this, outside of the Simple Design Fundamentals SDF series that I made, was Dark and Darker is dying. Well, SDF, being the savant that he is, backtracked on a lot of his terrible decisions, so we're actually allowed to have fun right now in Dark and Darker. I tried this mini-season, and it was fun. You can see I hit Demigod. I'm level 168. Clearly put some time into the game, and I'm well over 1,000 fame now on Druid if you account all my Druids, which is a nice little fun fact. But when I came back to the game after like 3 or 4 months off, like many of you guys are taking right now, I went into Druid, got in Bear form, hit right click, and realized my attack took 400 years to complete. They have consistently and repeatedly been just nerfing the class into the ground, and for Reddit and all them, they probably love that, but the class has changed. And what I wanted to do, even though the season's going to end in about 4 days and this video is about to be obsolete because they're about to make a bunch of new changes, is talk about the current state of Druid, what I think it's good at, what I think it's bad at, where I think it should be moving, and then give you guys some pointers on what you should be looking for while you gear. I'm not going to put a ton of time and effort into editing this video into like a Druid Bible type of thing because honestly it's about to be out of date, but I felt that this was interesting enough to talk about, and a lot of you guys have been asking me, are you coming back? Are you coming back? I've secretly been back a little bit, guys, and I've been playing, and it is, you know, I will admit it is fun. I'm kind of hooked again. So, stats. I wanted to show you guys more or less what a BIS kit on Druid looks like today. Druid is very flexible in the sense that you can swap out a lot of these pieces, but what you're looking for is you're looking for very specific stats. And what I have found to be usable is 30 strength and a minimum of 20% action speed. At those two numbers, you can kind of flex everything else. If you've hit your 30 strength and you've hit your 20% action speed, you can start putting points however you like to play. If you like to play Bear, maybe put a few more points into strength. If you like to play Panther, you can start diversifying into agility. If you like to play just frontline tank, start building vigor, start building health, and if you want to play healer, you can build agility and then magic healing, and then play more of a healer backline role. All of those are viable today. I won't say that the class is terrible garbage. It is a shadow of what it once was, that is for sure, but it is playable today. So I have this kit on, which I consider near BIS. It's not perfect, like I don't have +1 all on the rings or the neck, but my stats are very solid. I've used this kit to take down multiple named players. I've collected Bloodthirst and Caddis using this kit, and it is very, very fun. And I've run multiple kits like this throughout the season, and it is it's a powerhouse. It allows you to clear PvE like you used to very quickly, but the stat priority on this is very important, and the stat priority when you're gearing has changed. So the most important thing today is now dexterity. It's funny because I have more strength than dexterity, but dexterity is your priority, then strength, then vigor / health. I'm sorry, backtrack. Dexterity and action speed. I'll add that. Dexterity and action speed, then strength, then health, and then agility. If you have tendency to use more Panther, like I'm not a huge Panther guy, I think that you die in like 2 hits no matter how good your gear is. But if you're more of a Panther main and you want to focus on taking down the squishies a little bit more, maybe you're having problems with casters, put more points into agility. But that is the core way that you play Druid today, is you build dexterity above everything else. Now, some gearing tips, there is some ways that you can be budget friendly. First, think about whether or not you're going into HR, because if you're going into HR, it might actually be cheaper for you because you can shop for uniques, and there's certain uniques for Druid that are just basically dirt cheap. The Dark Grove robe, the Dark Grove series in general, is basically free. This would vendor for 200 gold, which is what it's being sold for. I can pick up a Dark Grove robe with 3 dexterity on it, 4 strength, 4 will, 3 dexterity, and then all of the other rolls on here are just bonuses like magic healing, magic health, and max health and everything. All of that stuff is just a bonus, but for 400 gold, that is really, really hard to beat, guys. And you can see that there's multiple with very cheap, very effective, and easy to buy rolls on it. Other things that are like super powerful for Druid, the Elkwood series. The Elkwood Crown is basically free. You can add strength to it. That's when it starts to get more pricey. Like a unique would be too expensive, but if we go to legendary, you can pick up a legendary with 2 strength. So this comes with base 4 vigor, 3 dex, 2 strength, and then all the other stats or benefits. I would put action speed on it as well, for 700 gold. That is a steal. And then if we look at the Elkwood gloves, these are used by rangers as well, so they're typically not as cheap, but 2 strength to get the baseline 2 strength there, 750 gold. You can definitely go budget. You can go 1 strength for 450. I've done a bunch of budget runs this season just to see where the sweet spots are, kind of figure out the viability of the class. And I can say that it's fine to take 1 strength as long as you're at that 30 strength goal. You're good. You will hit pretty damn hard in bear. And the reason is they changed the way the scaling works. It's not so dependent on your stats now. There is a higher base damage, and then your stats are added afterwards for a lot less. So even naked, your bear hits for a decent amount. And that was because a lot of druids complained, a lot of people complained that base kit druid was too weak. And admittedly, it probably was. But to compensate for that, they upped the base and they took away from the top, which really hurt the end game for Druid. Druid is okay in the end game. Well, let's talk about your matchups real quick. So we'll go to change class. We'll create a character. Against fighters, like before, it's about the same as it was before. You're going to bump into a lot of crossbow, longsword guys. Sweep under the longsword with your clicks, with your left clicks and right clicks. If you have a right click channeling and they throw up a parry, flick off of them. Do not give them a parry. If for some reason you give them a parry, which does happen, just turn, give them your ass, give them those limb shots. This is a pretty good matchup for you. I'd say that you probably have a 60 to 70% chance of beating an equally geared fighter. Some of them will outplay you. Some of them are very smart. Some of them stay in doorways and they just play like annoying fucks. Don't be afraid to leave and bait them into a more advantageous position for you. Barbarian, often said to be one of the most OP stupid classes in the game. These guys are lunch for you. I don't think I've lost to a Barbarian all season. I've won 100% of my engagements against them. I've had a couple close calls, and occasionally you'll die in bigger matches like duos or trios, but in a solo environment, Barbarians are lunch for you. Just eat them. Rogues, these guys can be rough to fight. Rogue is probably the best class in the game right now for solos, with double jump and rapier hitting much harder than it used to, plus poison weapon. They're just genuinely hard to deal with, especially with high movement speed. They are a nuisance. Dreamwalk can help you fight against rogues. I'm never a fan of Dreamwalk. I feel like it's more harm than good most of the time. But if you were getting landmined all the time, Dreamwalk could make this matchup a lot easier for you. I'd say you probably have about a 40% chance of beating a rogue if they're equally geared and skilled. If they're playing like Mosquito build, do not sleep on the damage. If you're playing a bear, or any kind of class of druid, really, I've built as tanky as you can. You can't really realistically get over 35% MDR. So that tick damage is much higher than you think it would be. Even though you have really high PDR, that doesn't count. So Mosquito build can kind of counter you. I would reposition and be as ratty as possible. Don't turn into a rat with poison on you, but be as ratty as possible against these guys. They can absolutely mess you up. Rogues are very, very scary right now. Ranger, they are a shadow of what they once were. It used to be one of the most played classes, especially in solo HR. Not so much anymore. I'm not really quite sure why there's been such a dramatic move away from Ranger. Maybe people just realize that like fighter is Ranger but better. They can be somewhat scary. A really good Ranger can put out, in my opinion, the highest DPS in the game if they hit their shots, which is a huge caveat. But they are still somewhat of a difficult matchup for you. They're easier than they were. I'd say that you probably have about a 50-50 chance to beat a ranger of equivalent skill and gear, depending on your build. Again, you guys play Druid, you understand there's bear counters certain things and panther counters other things. I can't get into the nuance of that right this second for this video because it would take, another 20 minutes to talk about all that. But for playing bear, like what I'm calling kind of the baseline kit of 30 strength, you about have a 50-50 chance to beat a ranger. A lot of it really depends on the terrain that you're fighting in as well. Wizard is difficult to kill. Wizard is one of the bigger counters to the bear playstyle. If you have agility and you're playing more panther focused, you can beat them. It's all about landing your silence at the appropriate time. Don't be afraid to sit and save your silence. You don't need that gap close. They typically don't have very high dexterity, so you can just run up to them, but often before they get their weapon out. The one really scary thing is Bonk Wizard. Bonk Wizards do an immense amount of damage regardless of what form you're in. So just play cautious around them in general. Try to look for silences. You'll know if it's a bad wizard if they try to stuff you with magic missiles while you still have your dash up, because you can just silence and kill them. That's like a free kill every time. Against wizard, I'd say you probably have a 30% chance to win the fight if they're equivalent gear and skill, both dependent on your build and their build. If you're playing more panther, you probably have about a 60%, 70% chance to kill them. Cleric, these guys can be scary if you don't know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, they're pretty damn easy. Clerics, the most popular build right now is Bonk Cleric, so they run Smite. Smite is on a pretty long cooldown. I think it's like 16 or 17 seconds on cooldown. And then there's Divine Protection or Spells. They're running one of those two things. So if you hear two chings, like big old sound effects like ching ching, that's them activating both of those buffs. That means they have Divine Protection as well. Generally, don't fight them while they have these buffs up. They know this as well. They want to fight with those buffs up. So when the buffs come up, just turn into cat and walk away. I like to talk shit while I do it. And oh, wow, what an exciting class. Well, I guess we have to wait another 30 seconds again to fight. If they're dumb enough to fight you with their buffs down, it's a free W. If you have to fight them with their buffs up because they're playing like a rat, like they should, just don't over trade with them. If you take 2 hits, get out, reset. You will reset faster than them, especially if they're not using spells, and then go back in, pressure them to pop their buffs, and kite it out and reset. And these fights can take longer than you would like them to. So if you're fighting a good cleric who's kiting you out constantly and not committing to fights when he doesn't have his buffs up, then the real threat is not the cleric. The real threat is getting third-partied. So just be careful with that. If it's if you know that you really outgear them, you can take the fights with their buffs up. Bear hits so hard, and so if you land 1 or 2 headshots, it's game over for them anyways. So I'd say that if you know what you're doing and you're avoiding the buffs, and even if they're equal skill to you, you probably have about an 80 to 90% chance to win this fight. This is a very good matchup for you. Bard, they're pretty far in between right now because it's one of the most tedious classes in the game to play, but I'm still kind of the opinion that Bard is one of, if not the best class in the game, just overall. A really good Bard is incredibly hard to deal with. They can be near max move speed. They like to kite with serve bows. This is a very difficult matchup for you if they are competent. If you can avoid Shriek, get in and start the fight, you probably have about a 60% chance to win. If they are kiting you out, they get Shriek up, you probably have about a 30% chance to win. So just be careful. Try to avoid Shriek as much as possible. Don't be afraid to dash in, commit, force them to switch off the flute. They know that if they wait too long, they're going to get bopped, and even if they get the Shriek out, getting bopped one time is not worth the trade. So force them to put their flute away before you commit to the fight. Try to avoid the Shriek as much as possible. Warlock. Warlock is in a pretty popular spot right now. Almost everybody is running Bachlock. They're running Phantomize and Bach. They don't have spells. Against spellcasting Warlock, it's always kind of been a light counter to Druid because it stops some of your forms from being viable, especially Rat form. So those guys can be a little bit more scary, but they're pretty rare today. I'd say you probably have about a 40-30% chance to beat a really geared Curse Lock. If you're fighting a Phantomize Bachlock, they're going to come out of Phantomize with their weapon out and try to insta-hit you. Don't be baited into changing into Panther and chasing them around. Try to stay close enough to them that you can re-engage as soon as they come out, but don't hug them. If you hug them, they're going to come out, they're going to hit you. If you get hit out of form, you need to leave the fight immediately, run away until Bach falls off, and then heal yourself if you don't get one-tapped. If you're in bear form, you can take the Bach hit to the ass and still have 70% of your health. You counter them pretty damn hard. And a lot of people that play Warlock, this is funny from the Druid guy, a lot of people that play Warlock are pretty shit. Like, they put themselves in really bad situations that other classes, excluding Druid, shouldn't be able to get out of. So you typically don't have to follow these guys for too long before they put themselves in a corner or do something really stupid that you can just leverage. So I'd say you probably have about a 70-80% chance to beat a Bachlock, maybe even higher, of equivalent skill. And then Druid is Druid v Druid is really skill dependent. I can't really break it down. It's really skill and class dependent. What I typically do is I'm looking for the action speed of the enemy Druid. If I go into bear form and they go into bear form and we both attack each other, I'm getting a quick assessment on how fast those swings come out. If they have higher action speed than me, I'm leaving the fight most of the time. I don't really run from fights most of the time, but if they have higher action speed than me, I'm immediately thinking this is going to be a difficult fight, so I'm almost exclusively left clicking. If I have higher action speed than them, I'm going to be right-clicking a lot more. The Sork got nerfed recently, but it is still wildly popular. It has a bunch of magic damage. It can run at near max move speed with its hands out and use those hands to cast spells, so it's almost like they have their weapon out. Very similar to Druid, but better in almost every way. Better teleport, better mobility. Maybe not better mobility, but better cooldowns for movement, and better poke for sure. Much better range damage. Can absolutely destroy you. This is one of the biggest counters to Druid right now. It's up there with Wizard. You probably have about a 20% chance, 30% chance to beat an equivalent gear and skilled sorcerer. Now, there's a lot to take into consideration with all the stuff I just said. Obviously, gear in this game is not equivalent. No situation is the same. Don't be afraid to take these fights. Don't be afraid to fight sorcerers. The only way that you're going to get better is by fighting them. One thing that you can do with a sorcerer, a lot of them like to toss you up in the air with that floating spell, and then they shoot you with a bolt for free damage, free hit. Like, oh, he can't dodge this because he's just floating in a very predictable path. If you save your Panther dash and you get knocked up in the air, you can go Panther and dash and dodge that. Or if you get rooted and then they follow up with a bolt, you can go chicken form. 99% of the time they're going to miss because they don't aim for your feet. So there's things that you learn by taking the fights that aren't advantageous for you. Don't be afraid to fight classes that are your counter, especially in solos. But that is the basics of how we play Druid today. I'm going to probably do a lot more dedicated videos on just Dark and Darker in general when the new season starts, because it's the first real content we've gotten in like a year. Really hope the new map is good. Really hope Penguin Form or whatever comes out for Druid and a bunch of other changes. STF said there's over 50 changes to old skills, so expect this video that you just watched to be completely out of date in 4 days. Anyways, thanks guys for watching. I do appreciate it. Sorry the quality is not super edited with all the arts and visuals. Your ADD fucking brain just has to deal with it. Goodbye.